In this week's episode of Working with Todoist, I reveal my late 2018 setup. Hello and welcome to another episode of Working with Todoist. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode it's that time of the year again when I reveal how I have my Todoist currently set up. Now, for those of you who've been following my channel for quite some time, you know that as each year progresses, I modify, adapt and improve my Todoist setup, and this year has been no different. And so in this week's episode it is time to reveal my latest setup, and once again, as I can assure you, that next year in March I will reveal my latest setup. But for now we're going to focus on how things are set up right now. Before we get straight into Todoist, or before we get into Todoist, I'd just like to say, if you like this episode, please click on that like button below, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. Okay, let's get straight into my setup and I'll show you how everything is set up. Okay, the first thing you're going to notice if you've been following me for a while is that I am no longer using dark mode. Dark mode was nice for a little while for a change, but it never quite sat comfortably for me. I'm used to this having a setup with the nice white background, and for some reason I always return to the Todoist red as well, so maybe I'm boring, but anyway, I have moved away from dark mode. It was fun for a while, but the novelty very quickly wore off for me. That's just my own preferences. Maybe you will be different. Now, okay, let's have a look and see how things have changed. Well, the biggest thing that's changed was in the introduction of pinned favorites. Now, pinned favorites meant that I have been able to create my own workflow just from this particular place. And what I've found since I've been using this workflow, I very rarely need to go into my projects throughout the day, my labels throughout the day, or even my filters throughout the day, because everything is already set up for me. I know exactly what my objectives are. It's the first place I go in the morning. As you can see, I've been a very good boy. I'm recording this in the afternoon, and all my objectives for today are now complete. My today's focus is essentially where I spend most of my time, and now we're coming towards the end of the day. I only have a few things left to do, and these are all going to get done before I finish the day. So it's actually a wonderful system. Now, next actions is the very next action in all my projects, or as I will explain in a moment, what I've also been doing is moving to areas of focus. But these are the very next actions that have to happen, but are not time sensitive or anything like that. These are just within my existing projects. And simply because this is my real Todoist account this week, I don't particularly want to go in there and show you all my little secrets that I have planned for later this year. Moving on, I have my golden 10, which I didn't actually put into the video that I covered when I did cover my pinned searches or pinned favorites. My golden 10 essentially is the task that I have to complete tomorrow. So I still have today's in here. This is just a filter, but these are the 4 things, or 8 at the moment, but these will be finished. Now, as you can see on here, tomorrow is a Saturday, and I'm working on updating my Thinkific Learning Center, so that's something that's a continuous thing for this week. Saturday evening is more of a gentle, relaxed evening for me, so I've got some more research and reading things in here. So have a look at the 4-hour blog for language learning tips, because there's some apparently very good stuff in there. I always clean the back of the TV, and math is the name of my computer, every Saturday afternoon. That's a routine. And for those of you who know who Fred Rogers is, or Mr. Rogers as everyone called him, there's a documentary that I actually want to watch, and it's on the I think it's actually on YouTube now, so I shall be watching that also over the weekend. But normally this would have, now the thing is, the reason why I have my golden 10 there and the number, my golden 10 is I only allow myself 10 things to do for the next day, and this is a filter, which if I have to go into my filters to show you this. My golden 10 filter is, if you look at this, 2 days and not P4. 2 days and not P4. What that's going to do is show me today, but usually when I'm checking my my golden 10, I've completed my task for the day, so I only have tomorrow's tasks in there, and I make sure there is no more than 10 tasks in there. That's the reason why I have that. It's just the end of the day filter that I go into. While we're in filters, I find that these filters now that are kind of legacy filters from previous setups that I've had, I very, very rarely use. These are the only filters that I'm using, and I've got them set up in my pinned favorites. So moving on to projects, and this has been one of the biggest changes, or the second biggest change this year. Of course, I still have my tickler file at the top, and for those guys, before you start leaving comments about my tickler file, yes, it's a legacy from my getting things done physical folders system. I've always had a tickler file. It's been a tickler file I've had for over 10 years. Do you need one? No, you don't need one. It's just something that I picked up from the Getting Things Done book. I used it in a physical format, and I do like to use it in a digital format, and all it is little things that are reminders for me to do. They're not urgent, they're not project specific, they're not career changing or life changing. They're just little reminders that I want to come up as and when, as in here, my favorite band Above and Beyond, 1st of November, every 1st of every month I like to check to see if they're coming to Korea. Other things do go in there sometimes, like order new t-shirts or whatever, but for now, I'm in a quiet stage of the year, so there's nothing else in there other than that. But usually they will have 3 or 4 things, and they're just little reminders. Yes, I could put them somewhere else, I know, but I like them there. Every time I mention my tickler file, people always leave comments about, why do you have one? It's not necessary. Well, maybe it's not necessary to you, but I like it. It works for me, and that's all that matters. Okay, moving on. I've had my rant. I do apologize. I've got in here my work projects. Now, what you'll notice is my work project has completely emptied, except for my Time and Life Mastery book that I'm working on. What I've also done now is I also do what do I want, why do I want to do it, and how will I do it. I've created this in most of all my projects, and I got this from Tony Robbins's UPA system, which is outcome, purpose, and actions. And essentially I've just basically created that. I like to see that there, particularly when I'm not feeling very motivated. I juice it up, as Tony Robbins likes to call it, like particularly the why. This book will establish me as a leader in the field of self-development and productivity, because that is what I want to be. I've got a spelling error there. I want to be the next Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy. This is my purpose. And so this is in here to remind me, just in case I need that little extra motivation. Actually, very rarely do I need that motivation. And in here, I actually keep all the things that I'm working on to do with the book. That's the only project I have in there. What I've done is, essentially, I've moved all my projects out, and I've created areas of focus. Now here I've got CPP, which is essentially my professional side, or FES is the other company that I have. So teacher, mentor, writer, speaker, online courses, podcasts, YouTube, social media, marketing, sales, and website. These are areas of focus related to my professional life, and I decided that this is a much better place. Now the thing is, I also use the Tony Robbins OPA system here. What, why, how is in this case I've created here. This needs tidying up, and I will do that over the next 3 months. I want to, what am I doing it for? What do I want? Why am I doing it? And how am I going to do it? And I do this for actually all of my areas of focus. It's just a great way to actually keep yourself focused in on what you want to do and why you want to do it. Now, going into my FES here. Now, I haven't done it here because FES is my language business and there's not much else I need to put in there. There's only this one area, which is student affairs, and this just gives me a little bit of updates for things that I need to be reminded. As you can see, all of these actually have dates because these are related to rescheduling and new students who want to start. And this has been the biggest area. I also have like my personal areas, so objectives, health and fitness, financial. The Range Rover Velar is the car that I still haven't bought yet. I know it's overdue, but personal circumstances related to my wife going off to learn to do her master's degree means we don't need the car just yet. It would just be parked outside. I would never be using it, so there's no point in actually creating it. So these are all the things that I have related to my personal life, and so I have professional and personal all in areas of focus. So what essentially has happened over the year, I don't work in a project-based environment, and I realized that over the summer. So I've moved more of my working life into my areas of focus. I find that has worked much better for me. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that everyone should go into an areas of focus organization. It really does depend on the kind of work that you do. If your work is project-based, then of course you're probably best setting everything up via project. But my life isn't really that much of a project base. Creating these videos, I don't treat each week as a new project. It's just an ongoing thing. My YouTube channel is something I enjoy creating videos for. I love the process, and it's just an area of focus. So I created an area of focus. My routines is there because I like to separate my routines. That has not changed. Daily, weekly, monthly, and weekly review. All that has been the same as it was last time. Maybe some of my routines have changed a little bit because some have become obsolete or I've got new ones. But essentially my routines are there, and I've moved that down to the bottom of the list now because I don't really need to check that because that's just going to come up in my daily list when I need to see it. And of course, someday maybe is always there. So essentially the biggest change for me has been in how I'm managing my projects or the work related. I'm moving away, and I probably in March next year when I give you an update on how my setup is, you will probably find that I am completely areas of focus. I am certainly moving in that direction. I'm not quite totally areas of focus just yet, but I am certainly getting into that area now. I do like it. It really works very, very well for me and the way I work. Remember, this has to work for the way you work. I wouldn't suggest necessarily that you copy me. My system might not work for you, but I just want to throw some ideas out there for you to see how to give you some ideas, see if you can get better organized and more productive. But essentially, the biggest changes have been in that area and also how I'm using the pinned searches. To me, it was just a genius addition by the guys at Todoist because it's now allowed me, very rarely do I need to move into my projects, labels and filters. I do so when I do a weekly review, but all I'm doing is starting at the top, moving into there. Next actions is usually for my planning if I have time at the end of the day, and my golden 10 is where I do the final daily review. It's part of my golden 10 to make sure I have no more than 10 tasks set up for the next day. And that essentially is how I'm organizing my Todoist now. A lot more complex than Francesco's, if you watched the video from last week that Francesco did for working with productivity. But for me, Todoist is my manager during the day, if you like, and as I say, I spend most of my day in today's focus. It's only at the end of the day when I move into today, which will then give me the tasks remaining, and they're just usually admin tasks at the end of the day. Okay, well, thank you very much for sitting through this or standing through this episode. I know it's quite long, but I really wanted to give you the big update on how I have changed my Todoist over the year. It just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw and you would like to learn more about becoming better organized and more productive, then get yourself enrolled in my free beginner's guide to building your own productivity system. And if you'd like to learn more about how I can help you, then visit my website at carlpullein.com. All the details are in the show notes below.